Hello and welcome back, everybody. So in my last video we talked about some updates, and in one of those updates I mentioned my spiritual talk show called Spirit Rant, which is found on SoundCloud. It's a really wonderful just lecture about so many different topics. You know, I go into personal psychic and spiritual experiences. I talk about things that my family have experienced throughout the years. I talk about how my kids view my life, from a psychic, spiritual, point of view. I talk about things that are happening in the world spiritually around us. And in the very last show, I talked about this dark energy that's approaching. Mass consciousness is such a significant thing when it's projected. If you go back to 2012, and I've mentioned this so many times before, people that weren't even really spiritual just all of a sudden became spiritual. It was like flicking a light switch. If you go back, you'll start to kind of realize that that may have happened to you yourself. And that's because the mass consciousness was being projected. A lot of subliminals and a lot of direct content are used in media to promote different ideas, such as before this whole New Age movement started, there was the alien songs, Katy Perry, E.T. There was the Ancient Aliens television show. There were so many things. Can't even name them all. And that started introducing people to the idea. Then the whole thing with the Mayan calendar, doomsday. People have been waiting for doomsday for so long. And I explained that in my other video about the Lion's Gate. However, that just goes to show how strong a mass shift of consciousness can be when it's projected on such a large scale. And that's not all. Like, you go into movies, and we talk about conspiracy theories all the time on this channel, and we talked about how they use a lot of hidden messages in movies for Hollywood. There's been things found in The Simpsons, Disney, and so many other things that have really connected with a lot of different world events. Well, one of the movies that recently had came out was called The Fifth Wave. And I told my people, hey, watch out, because this is really going to happen, just not really as you think. And they were a little confused, some of them at the moment. And they wanted to know, well, how is this going to be a real alien invasion? And I'm thinking, well, not everything is always as it's made to seem. So what I was really talking about was about this dark energy, this form of consciousness that was going to promote a lot of real negative feelings and vibes in people. And that's because the awakening itself, it was inspired, it was promoted to awaken very specific individuals, also to give people that chance to expand their consciousness. However, like I always say, you go online, the internet is totally ran by the elite too. Those who are connected to the elite made the internet, they monitor the internet, and so on and so forth. So it's hard to get to the heart of truth, really. And you can't really talk about it. I mean, I've been censored on so many accounts, and not to mention, I've had a hard time getting growth over the years because of censorship and others that were promoted as a spiritualist other than me. And that's okay and everything, but when you get to the heart of the truth, it really does show you that when something's going on, it's going on. And that one thing that was happening through the end of 2017 into this year was that dark energy. And that energy was coming in, and it was slowly coming in, and it was being promoted. There were songs that were promoting about suicide, people hating their lives. XXXTentacion, if I'm pronouncing that right, was coming out, and he became a very huge role model in the industry with his music, which is really kind of depressing at times. But there was one particular song where the lyrics were stating, I just want to die today, I just want to die. And that was in like a pop or hip hop song that I heard, on the radio one day in the car. So it starts with things like that. It starts implanting the ideas. It goes more for like an emo type feel, people that are depressed in commercials, movies, television, music, and people start to get that implanted idea subconsciously because the subconscious is so very strong. I'll talk about that later in another video. But going deep into this, the promotions start first, then the mass consciousness comes, and that's what's happening now. Everybody can feel it, they just don't know what it is. A lot of people are starting to feel depressed. They're feeling suicidal. They're feeling hopeless. They're falling off their spiritual path. They're feeling a lack of motivation. Nothing really inspires them. They're starting to go back into their old way of life, focusing on more 3D things. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that if that's how people choose to live. But think back when you were first inspired by all of this. How wonderful and magical life seemed to you. And now with the depression, you're feeling, a lot of people are feeling like they're lost. They're feeling like nothing brings them happiness. They're feeling totally withdrawn from family. They just kind of shut themselves within, and they don't feel comfortable going outside. They don't feel comfortable being inside. Just negative racing thoughts a lot, and they feel like they're dead inside, or like they're disassociating with themselves. And a lot of people, they call this the dark journey of the soul. And it is, okay? It is for some. You can't get the two mixed up. But right now, it's hard for anybody to discern whether it's the dark journey of the soul or if it's this mass dark consciousness, because a lot of people are feeling it right around the time that this consciousness is being unleashed. And it is hitting people full effect. There's kids reaching out to me from ages 13 all the way into their 20s, and they're saying, Alura, I just don't want to go on anymore. And I ask them, what's going on in your life? And they tell me they live at home with their parents, they have a job, they're doing well. And it makes you wonder, well, that sounds like a pretty easy life. You get to be a kid, go out and do things. That's supposed to be the most magical time of your life. I remember it was mine, even though I had no friends. I made the best out of it. I was still optimistic. But for these kids, something is making them feel that way. Something is provoking and influencing those feelings within them. And it goes beyond that age group too. There's a lot of adults who are writing in too. And it's very sad that people have to go through those types of emotions when they should be celebrating right now in their life. The people that have worked towards truth seeking and spiritual development should be celebrating, rejoicing in the achievements that they've made. Instead, a lot of them look at what they didn't achieve. Oh, I didn't get to be this psychic, or I'm not totally an ascended master. I didn't reach that information or that ability that I wanted. So I guess it was all for nothing. And then they get depressed, or people that are having hardships, obstacles. They don't look at it as, oh, hey, let's use higher self thinking here. Higher self brings you to a divine state of mind. That means if you're living by your higher self, you're living with a divine state of consciousness, which means you don't see negativity anymore. You don't feel depressed or down. And there are no obstacles or hardships, because when there are, you don't see them like that. You see them as, oh, this is a lesson. I understand the lesson. I'm going to apply it. And then soon that lesson in the obstacle will disappear, because if you understand it right away, there's no need for it to continue. They don't see that hardships are tests of endurance and perseverance, because unconditional love is one of the keys towards awakening and ascension. And if you can't endure or persevere, which are two very strong attributes and virtues of unconditional love, then you're not going to make it, So there's going to be tests to see where you're at. Obstacles are sometimes signals of saying, hey, you're not going in the right direction anymore, back up. But people aren't using that level of awareness that I teach them all the time. They start to get brought down, they feel bad, they feel like they're failing, and they retreat. Others are feeling down and out because of the dark journey of the soul, or some of them because of this mass consciousness. Depopulation doesn't have to be through viruses and natural disasters. It could be through a state of mind, maybe provoking people to not want to go on, provoking suicidal idealism. And there were a lot of spiritual teachers that were promoting that. It's sad when people waste life. It's sad when people make those choices and decisions, when they don't see the good that's within themselves. They don't see the potential that they could reach, and I do. And I try to tell them, I try to counsel them through it. But sometimes maybe their inner will is stronger, leaning more towards that decision, and then some other teacher or some other influence plays a role in provoking it more, and then it's like, oh, let's not listen to Alura, let's go this route anyway. And I've known people that have done that. And I remember doing a video a couple of years back telling people, don't go that route. It's not going to take you home. You're not going to be able to restart fresh. You're going to come back with the same karma, the same lessons. And it's not like a reset button. It's more like, hey, let me go back and now have double karma because I didn't finish it in that life. Now I have this life's karma on top of what I didn't finish last life. And all of that combines to make life even harder. So that's definitely not the route, but it's definitely an idea that's being projected into the spiritual communities by teachers who don't realize how responsible they are for people's souls and the choices that they make. When you give somebody advice, when you teach them, when you even give them psychic insight or vision, those people that you have that are listening to you, they take that and they can make life-altering choices and decisions that can affect their whole life. It can affect the lives of their loved ones. People don't see that, and they just hand it out because they're happy with where they are, what they're projecting themselves to be. And there's a lot of ego in spirituality nowadays. And these people make choices that mess up their whole entire path because of it. You are responsible for the people that you teach, the people that you read, and the people that you advise. So be careful and never promote people to try to restart the wrong way. Push people to finish to the finish line. Tell them to keep going. Show them their potential, because every soul here on planet Earth has it. They just need to find somebody that can show them what it is and to help them feel loved enough to go after it. So the dark energy is promoting that depopulation, dark energy, bringing people down, putting them back to sleep. The people that are awake, they'll stay awake, and some will awaken towards the pillar of Boaz, some to the pillar of Jachin, but those that awaken to the pillar of Boaz, they stop right there. No one's ever going to get beyond that if they don't have the right intention, because the wrong intention equals ego equals self. And there's no room for self in heaven because heaven is a collective. And it's true. So other worlds are available, yes, but more than likely you have to finish out what you haven't finished here on earth until you can get there. So there is something better on the other side always. If you don't have a whole lot of karma, if you're trying to live your life purpose, if you're trying to do what's right to the best of your ability, you don't have to be perfect, just do the best that you can. But especially, don't let anything bring you down. Don't compare to others. Look at yourself uniquely and beautifully. Accept your conditions and your surroundings as they are. Make the best out of it. Use awareness to see the obstacles and the hardships and the lessons attached, or to signal change, and you're going to be okay. You just have to have faith, and you have to have appreciation and gratitude that for a lot of people, could be a lot worse, and it's very, very true. I mean, think about it. There are people living outside that have all kinds of disease and no food to eat at all in harsh conditions, and they have to go through that their entire lifetime in this lifetime. Whereas a lot of people that are feeling down now have a place to live, food to eat, and they have a family. Maybe it's not a spiritual family like they want, but it's enough for the support in some other way. It's all about finding out what that is to work with them. So the dark journey of the soul, going away from the dark energy that's been projected, the dark journey of the soul is when a person, they're going through their awakening stage, and this is for people that haven't really explored on the darker side of nature. They've gone through their lifetimes, maybe neutral, maybe on the side of light, but they need to have that darker experience so they can reflect the light to recognize all of it. Because let's say if a homeless person was never given $5, they could never say, oh, I know what it was like to be down and out, and what it was like when somebody gave me that $5 that I needed. It was a hard life, but that $5, it really helped me. That kindness really influenced me, and it really did plant the seed of me wanting to change, to be better, so that I could do that for other people too. That's light reflection. And some people need to go down the darker path in order to experience that, to see it. You never really know what true light is until you've experienced dark. It's true, unless you're created in balance, which unfortunately not a lot of souls here are yet. They're still trying to reach that. And for those that were, that balance was disrupted through left-minded thinking that has been, being projected since, ancient times. And then the disharmonic state that our earth is in as well. They've lost that. And now they're trying to get there, but how? You have to be able to reflect in the yin-yang. That's why a lot of people seek what's called the twin flame, not really realizing that, yes, twin flame is the other half of your soul in another person for the lessons, but it's also already within you. It is. I'll talk about that too in another upcoming video. But for now, the dark journey of the soul is where a person's trying to find out who they are. And they make mistakes, they make bad decisions, they experience the lower vibrational feelings so that they can pick themselves back up later on, whether they realize it or not at the time, and they can reflect onto the light and say, wow, now I really understand what goodness is, what unconditional love is, what being selfless and charitable is. Because when I was there, you know, I saw that in certain instances. It made me want to be better. It inspired me, motivated me. There's a lot of people that have been addicted to drugs, people that have been homeless, people that have grown up in states of child abuse, and so on and so forth, that, you know, when they came to their awakening, you know, they had enough darkness in their life to say, okay, now I realize goodness and why I want it and why it's so much better than the dark. You know? So the dark journey of the soul is experiencing the lower vibrational feelings. It's exploring mistakes and bad choices and decisions and the consequences that they bring, so that you can get that all-knowing knowledge when you finally come into the light. And believe me, when you bring both of those halves together, you do get a state of knowing and a state of discernment and understanding, because that's where true awareness begins, when you can reflect off of both paths to meet the balance. But that's not all. There's more balance needed in other areas and departments, but we'll talk about that another time, and so many other more things to come. Thanks for listening. Don't let the dark energy get to you. And if you're in the state of the dark journey of the soul, get support, get help in understanding it. Have someone guide you through the process so that you can start reflection now. Maybe you don't have to start later on when it's over. It really is helpful to have that foundation of support through that. But most of all, just know I'm here for all of you through all of these changes. But just some things to look for, okay? With the dark energy, with the dark journey of the soul, check out the end of the video for some of the symptoms. That way you can compare and maybe have an idea of what you're experiencing. Love and light to you all. You're loved. You're embraced. Namaste.